It's your favorite girl on the rocks. Oh my goodness. I don't know why I am so excited today. I am like light on my feet. You guys, I had therapy right before I got to the studio today. I took a beautiful nap today. And it is the first weekend of spring. I walked in the studio and Kenny was like, "Why do you look so chipper? Like, what is this?" And I'm like, "You feel that? It's bad bitch weather." That's what that is, okay? So I really do shine in the spring and summer. Like, my shoe game is on point. Like, the bookings are booking. Like, it's a really good time. So happy that we're finally getting some good weather here in New York City. It is still a little unpredictable, but we're going to make it work. Now, we are at the halfway point of season 3. I can't even believe it, you guys. The fact that we are even at season 3 is crazy, but we're at the halfway point, and today we have an exciting episode for you. And remember, at the beginning of the season, I told you guys that we were going to be doing things a little bit differently, and today is going to start the revamp of our Feed the DJ segment. So today, our special guest will join us for some rapid fire questions while we enjoy some sweet treats and drinks from Lena Links and Indulge NYC. So make sure that you guys stay to the end of this episode so that you guys can enjoy that new segment. All right? Now, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see my beautiful sweatshirt. This was the sweatsuit, or half of the sweatsuit, that I was gifted by BMC Smooth. He was our previous guest on episode 3. So make sure that you go and check out episode 3 right now so that you can see the full episode with BMC Smooth. Find him online so that you can order yourself a sweatsuit. This is actually a crop top sweatsuit, super cute. If you know me, you know I love a good crop top. So this is nice. I don't know. This might be a one of one, but let them know I sent you. All right? Girl on Rocks is here to make sure you got that fire stuff for the summer. And yeah, we have a lot going on here at Hub 17. We actually have our first open house of 2025 coming up. So if you are a showrunner, if you want to do a podcast, if you're an artist looking for a place to promote your art, definitely come out to Hub 17 on April 8th from 6 to 8 p.m. We're going to be here showing everybody the spaces that we have and why Hub 17 is so special to the community that it has here in Staten Island. So make sure you guys come out. And it's a free event. So, I mean, come see what we're working with. We are inviting you to come to our home. So make sure you mark your calendars for April 8th. Now, I got all my commercials out of the way. We're about to get into this awesome episode. We're going to end this episode like we always do with a live DJ set. So make sure you guys stick around for that. Subscribe, leave us a review, and let us know what you think of season 3 so far. It's your favorite girl on the rocks. Let's get this episode started. You guys, I'm so excited to jump into this interview right now. There is nothing like someone who pays attention to detail and goes into detail, okay? When I ask for a bio, these are the results that I'm looking for. I got the short version and the long version in case you didn't understand it the first time. And I'm just so happy to be here in the studio with Cryptic One. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
We have had a blast in this studio, you guys. I mean, the weather is beautiful. Perfect. The snacks are snacking, and the music, you guys are in for a treat. So make sure you guys stay to the end. Now, hey everyone on YouTube, I'm so happy to see you. Thank you for watching Feed the DJ podcast. We just want to remind you to turn your notifications on and hit that subscribe button so you can be the first to see all of the new episodes in season 3. You can leave us questions and reviews in the comments below. Now, Cryptic One is a producer, rapper, and key member of the underground hip-hop collective Adam's Family. Active since 1996, he has worked with iconic artists like MF Doom, which we all know a lot of our listeners here are big fans of MF Doom, so make sure you guys tap into this interview. Lloyd Banks and Aesop Rock. Known for his intricate lyricism and innovative production, Cryptic One also creates instrumental music and performs live beat sets in Brooklyn and in Staten Island soon at the finale party.
Let's do it.
His work continues to push the boundaries of hip-hop, blending depth originality, and a bold artistic vision. Thank you so much for coming to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
And it wasn't a bad commute. You're right here in Brooklyn.
They're usually, when I do beat shows in Brooklyn, they're in Bushwick, and it's way further.
Yeah, right? It's
Staten Island,
New York City is a twilight zone when it comes to like how far you can go. Staten Island is only like 14 miles long, but I feel like for me to get from one end of Staten Island to the other would be me going to Brooklyn like 7 times. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But either way, so happy that you can join us. I'm happy that the weather is starting to get nice.
Spring's here.
We're here, and we're at the halfway point of season 3, you guys. The rest of this season is going to be super exciting, and I'm happy that we can start all of the real fun stuff in this episode. So let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
Let's start from the beginning and work our way up to now. So when were you first introduced to music, and was there a specific moment or experience early on that made you realize this was something you wanted to do full-time or seriously?
Like, I was introduced to music, my house.
Yeah.
My family, they had records in the house. They played records often. I don't remember exactly what I fell in love with. I was young, like 3 or 4 years old, and then my parents noticed I was gravitating towards records. They bought me like a little Sesame Street turntable, and I would take their records and mess them up because I was a kid. I was 4 years old. What do I know? But then I got older and started stealing my sister's records. And that didn't go over well with my older sister. She, thumped me up a little bit. And then that was just kind of like my love of listening to music. As far as creating music, that didn't happen till I first heard hip hop. So I'm older. So like I was born before hip hop existed. So like the first time I heard hip hop, I was like, that's my music. That's not my parents' music. That's not my sister's music. That's my music. And the thing that struck me about it was like, I felt I could do it right away. Like I had a pen and a paper. I knew how to speak English.
Yeah, like 1 + 1. I got this.
Figure this out. But specifically on like the production side and the beat making side, I remember the exact moment that I was like, I knew I could do it, and then I just had to figure out the steps to get there. I had heard a song on Red Alert, which was the radio, 98.7 Kiss FM. They played hip hop. This was when hip hop was regulated basically to Friday and Saturday nights, 9 to 12. That's the only time you heard it. So there was a song that came on by the Jungle Brothers called I Got It Like That. Yeah. And the second I heard it, I recognized the sample. I didn't know what a sample was, but I was like, I've heard that. Yeah. And I was like, I just stopped the radio and went to my parents' record collection. I listened to everything until I found the record. Wow. And I was like, oh shit, that's how they make beats. So then I started listening to my parents' records differently. Right. I didn't know what a sampler was. I didn't know anything. So eventually, when I was in high school, I was like, I wanted to like start DJing. A friend of mine had turntables, so I'd go to his house and learn how to DJ. And then I just saved my money, got a little job, and bought my first turntable, and started from there. And that was like the lifelong love that's never gonna go away. Wow,
that is a beautiful story. I mean, what a coming of age story. Am I right? Getting beat up by your sister for the love of your music.
There it is.
That is the work that you have to do.
Yeah, she definitely bloodied my nose once. Sorry.
I'm an older sister, so
you know.
I'm guilty of a few ass whoopings here and there. But listen, it's all for the greater good.
It's necessary.
Now, you just told us about how DJing kind of came into your world, but how has that experience shaped your understanding of music from both sides of the stage?
DJing changed the way I listen to music.
Yeah.
I always, as a DJ, wanted to, obviously the first and foremost goal is always to lock into the crowd, give them what they need, what they want, whatever that is at whatever point. But I always kind of wanted to tell a story with the music. Maybe that's just something that's in my head no one else would recognize, but so, you wouldn't go from a certain tempo to another tempo or a certain feeling to another feeling unless it was intentional. So I try and kind of like I always thought of it like a movie. Like, this is the intro.
Right.
This is where you're getting to know things. Then this is where conflict happens. So maybe things are a little more energetic, and
Yeah.
this is the conclusion. So that was kind of always my approach to DJing, which kind of transferred into the rapping and into production. I still, to this day, when I'm building a set, I think of it like this is an intro. I
Right.
always have kind of a long intro where there's no drums yet, and just kind of introducing you into the sound, and hopefully it pulls you in. And you learn about tempo, you learn about key changes, you learn about what songs work with others. When you're blending two songs, you learn what works.
Yeah.
And, you know, I didn't have any informational resources back then, and I didn't have technology. Like, technology is a little different now. When you're working with vinyl, it's like you just have to figure it out. There's no like, okay, this is in C minor and this is in C minor. You're like, okay, let me try and see if this works.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work. So I'm going to try something else until you figure out what works. And then eventually your ear kind of catches up, and you can kind of gauge to some degree, like, even without knowing the records, you can hear them and be like, okay, those two will work together. Sometimes you're right.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're wrong. But, you know,
That's the fun.
that's exactly.
That's the exciting part. Now, coming up in Brooklyn, who or what inspired your early sound? And were they records? Were they people? Were they places that you played? Were any of those major shaping points in your style?
Not really. Like, most of my major shaping points in my style came from music that I listened to. Like I mentioned before, Red Alert, like listening to the radio and just hearing this new form of music, basically, and kind of attaching myself to it, and it becoming a way of life. You know, I grew up, like I said, when hip-hop was starting, so I was doing everything. I was breakdancing, I was doing graffiti, I was DJing, I was rapping. So, like, I covered all the elements, and that just kind of shaped who I was. That was my identity. Like, it was more than music to me. It was just kind of like, who are you?
Yeah.
My first words would be hip hop. Like, that's it.
Period.
Like,
and so, who can you think of are some of your greats that you look up to even now, years later?
They varied over the years. I'm not one of those old school guys who only listens to old school and then stops it at a certain year. I still listen to stuff today, and I still find beauty in art of all years. But my initial ones are like Marley Marl, Pete Rock, DJ Premier, Havoc from Mobb Deep, Q-Tip from Tribe Called Quest, Prince Paul. I could keep going.
Keep going, right?
Like, if you move into like the 2000s, MF Doom is a huge.
He's up there for sure.
Yeah, influence in rapping and in producing and just in the way he dealt with music making and his character, etc. And then lots of friends. Like, I've always found that the communities that I'm actually a part of, and just sharing music with each other, that's the biggest influence on me.
Yeah, I can agree too. Like, whenever I go out and I'm with other DJs, I'm like, bro, send me that track, please.
That's it. That's it. That's what it's all about.
Now, I have some more questions for you, but I kind of want to piggyback off of some of the stuff that we've spoken about now. So, do you, off the top of your head, because I know there's so many, but are there any record stores that you love here in New York City that you would recommend to somebody who wants to start collecting?
I will say no, because frankly, as much of a record head as I am, a vinyl collector, I haven't really been buying records. I have so many, and I live in Brooklyn. Yeah. So, like, most of my records aren't even in my house, so I don't have enough space for records. Like, so, like, it was the biggest addiction of my life was buying records for a long time, and I kind of cut the cord on it. Still, when I travel, and I'm in new places, not New York, I'll hit a record store and come home with like 10 to 15 pieces of vinyl. But I used to dig like I'd be out at record stores like 3 or 4 times a week.
Wow.
But those days are long gone.
Yeah. Now, I want to also talk about taking care of your vinyl and making sure that they stay in the best condition, because I know that is very important for vinyl DJs. So what are some of the methods that you would give to somebody who wants to know?
So asking the wrong person. I'm so bad at that.
Really?
I'm terrible. I'm terrible. I always wished I was better. I've gotten a little bit
I need to be
better
better with my upkeep too. I gotta admit.
Yeah, I'm just like, you'll come to my house and like the last 10 records are they're like in a stack.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to stack them. I know what you're supposed to do. You don't stack them on top of each other.
Right.
Side by side. Have a polyurethane or whatever they call the sleeve, the plastic sleeve to protect the jacket. Clean the record before you put it on your turntable. Make sure your turntable is balanced properly so that it's not damaging the grooves. I don't do any of these things, but I know I should.
What is the saying that they say? Do as I say, not as I do, right?
Facts.
So let's jump right back in. Now, you're a part of the iconic Addams Family group. Tell us a little bit more about them, how you became a part of the group, and how you feel about it now.
So Addams Family started in 1995. I didn't come aboard until 96. How I met initially, so I got to tell a little history.
Yes, please.
History lesson. So Addams Family originally was 4 people.
Okay.
It was this guy named Genesis who, I don't know if you're familiar with the Stretch and Bobbito show. There's a documentary about them. So they were a huge college radio show in the 90s that they were the first to break like everyone from Wu-Tang to Biggie to like that was the thing. Like even in, I don't know if you saw the Wu-Tang series or the doc. There's a scene in there where their record gets played on the radio. That was that radio show.
Okay, gotcha.
So Genesis from Addams Family, he was in that scene on that radio show often. Then there was this guy Osiris, who is a graffiti artist, also an MC, and these 2 other guys named Vast and Vortal, who later went on to form this group that kind of blew up, Cannibal Ox. So those are the 4 original members. I was in another group. Like I said, there's a long story.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Listen.
I was in another group at the time. We were trying to get signed. We almost got signed to a label that was affiliated with Def Jam. That wound up falling through. Our group broke up. I was solo. So what I did in the interim as a rapper, it was just like, all right, I'm gonna rap wherever I can rap. There was no real open mics or anything then, so they had on some radio shows, college radio shows, you could call up and rap over the air.
Nice.
So I'd call up and I'd just call up every radio show I could, and I wound up getting on this show in Long Island, and I spit a couple verses, and the next week these guys called up and they were like, everybody that calls up on this show is trash except for that dude Cryptic One.
Hey, like, that's a great review. I
was like, okay, cool. Like that's a little harsh on everybody else, but I'll take that. So then I heard them rap and I liked their stuff. So the host of the show actually wound up connecting us.
Wow.
And those 2 guys were some of the early guys in Addams Family, and then we formed a group together, and that's how I became part of Addams Family, just on some random shit, and we've kind of all been friends now since then.
Wow.
So it's just some random thing. So like the lesson I learned from that is when you have nothing going on, shoot every shot you can.
Yeah.
Maybe something comes of it.
Wow. Yeah. You guys, there is no excuse.
There's never.
You heard it here first. Wow. That is really inspiring because, when you get beat down, you kind of feel like you don't know where else to turn. You kind of end up just doing the regular life thing, right? Just go to work.
Honestly, that's what most of the group that broke up.
Yeah.
They're still friends with all those guys, but it was 5 of us, and only 2 of us still make music. So, that's what happens.
Mm-hmm. And you end up just kind of going with the ways of the wind of life. But I'm so happy that you kept pushing because
same here.
Fast forward, here we are. Now, being in a group, how did that push you creatively? Because I know you guys have to feed off of each other. So how was that?
It's the internal competition is great, especially as rappers. Like when you're working on a song with Addams Family was huge at the time. It was like 30 people, but generally we worked on songs like 5 to 8 of us at a time sometimes. And we'd be sitting in the studio writing, and someone would finish their verse. And I was a producer mainly. There was no other producers in the group. And engineer, everything. So I'd record the verse and everyone would look at each other like, oh shit, he killed it. And you start hearing papers crumbling up and like, I got to start my shit over. And like, Then the next person record. Then the first guy's like, "Oh shit, I gotta change my verse."
Right.
So, like, it would take a long time to finish songs, but you know, that I miss that. I miss that competition. The everyone trying to one up each other. I miss like, because honestly, I'm not in the studio with people much these days. I'm in the studio by myself. People email me a verse. Or,
right. It's not the same like it used to be. Wow. And I was just thinking, there's not really a lot of groups anymore.
No. There's
really not. So I don't know. Do you think that it still holds the same power as it did back then?
I think it could. I think, like we were just talking about, the emailing back and forth. I think that's kind of killed it to some degree.
Yeah.
But I still love a group. I like the dynamic of hearing, excuse me, two different voices.
Right.
Like, I love Andre 3000, but Outkast, like hearing their contrast was just like,
yeah. And looking for that change, you know what I mean? My goodness. And that goes back into telling a story with everything.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So bring the groups back, please. We need them. I'm actually really excited for that. Hey everybody, it's your favorite girl on the rocks, of course, and we are here at our home base, Hub 17 NYC. If you are a lover of podcasts or want to get your own podcast started, make sure you follow Hub 17 NYC so you can get a tour of our facility and learn how you can bring your ideas to life. You've been active in the music business for 3 decades. From your experience, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen in the industry, and how have they affected the way independent artists move?
Okay. Well, the first change, and this was way back when I kind of first started releasing independent music, was that you could do it independently. Before, you always, the goal was always to get signed.
Yeah.
So that was the big shift. But more recently, the other shift, which I think is a more negative one, is streaming. I as a music consumer, I love streaming. I love having access to every song I could ever possibly want. But it pulled all the money out of it, and I don't know where that money's going. It's not going to the artist.
Yeah.
And it kind of just made music feel disposable.
Right. Like it's too accessible.
It's too accessible.
Yeah.
And there's too much of it. Like that's the other thing. Like there needs to be, I shouldn't say there needs to be, because I love the fact that anyone can release anything at any time. But I also love back in the days when things were a little more curated, like you had to like please a few people and jump through a few hoops before you could release something. So I have a love-hate relationship with it. But I definitely have a hate relationship with the lack of money.
It's definitely messed up because, people are putting blood, sweat, tears, hours into these projects. You know what I mean? And then the tours and then the marketing and everything. So it really is a bit of a bummer.
It is, but there's ways that I don't focus on streaming for myself. I put this stuff out there because, people want to hear it. I'm not going to deny them the access to hear it, but I focus on selling vinyl, selling CDs, selling tapes, and surprisingly, people still buy them.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I need to go on a dig myself.
Yeah.
I have not written a record in a long time, too. The last record that I've ever received was a gift, so I need to get back into the swing of things. And maybe we need to, do you do mentorship at all?
I don't, but I literally was talking to my girlfriend about this week. I want to do something where I can like help the community, the beat community specifically, wherever I think I can help. For me, I think the marketing is like the thing that I do better than most. So like I want to teach people that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've always been the type of person who will tell everybody everything I know if they ask. But most people don't ask.
I will be asking. You know what it is? I want to get into more clubs.
Okay.
This year. Like I definitely want to do clubs. Like love private events, that's what money's at. But I want to play music that I want to play. With a private event you kind of just have to cater to what your client wants. So I really want to do high energy. I'm in and out. I'm in here for an hour. I get to play crazy bangers. Yeah. and then split. You know what I mean?
no,
So, but the equipment is so much different. But you know what? Pat myself on the hand. I've gotten too comfortable with my equipment. Have you ever? Well, no, you've been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
But do you ever get too comfortable with certain pieces of equipment?
Always.
Okay.
As more as a beat maker, but like I blow up my situation every few years.
Yeah.
And put myself through this crazy process. I wouldn't recommend doing this because
Okay.
I drive myself crazy. But every time when I feel like I'm making a formula and it's not, I don't know, like, okay, I'll do this because I always do this.
Right,
and I'll do this, and I'll just like, all right, I'm not using this piece of equipment anymore. I'll put it aside and I'll take something else that I don't use as much, and that's the center. And it forces my brain in different ways. So, yeah, I don't suggest that because you go through a period of like hating everything you're making because you don't know the equipment for a while, and like, but it's always helpful to learn.
Yeah.
Learning period. I'm
Constantly.
always learning.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely, and I don't know what it is about me. I love throwing myself into the fire, you guys.
Sometimes that's the only way, though.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, it's a more fun way, in my opinion. I definitely need to practice more, and I want to prick your brain. So we'll come back to the
as far
mentor
as
thing.
that, like, you did the right thing. You got it done.
Yeah.
But, the only way around that is preparation.
Yeah.
That's like asking too many questions. Ask what they have, how it works. Like, this is what I'm planning on bringing, or bring your own stuff.
I hope you are all enjoying our podcast episode so far with Cryptic One. But all of this podcasting and interviewing has got me quite hungry. And I think it's time for us to try a sweet treat from Indulge NYC. So join us for the new and improved Feed the DJ segment here on the podcast. This is my favorite part of the show. I know that interviewing and the live set, like, those are the peaks of the show. Do not get me wrong. But when it comes to the sugar, spice, and everything nice, this is my favorite part. I mean, it is called Feed the DJ, you know what I mean? But we are here to actually revamp the Feed the DJ segment today. So if you guys have been rocking with us since season 1, you guys know that we love Indulge NYC, and we couldn't do this podcast without them. And so today, we are going to pair our taste test with some rapid fire questions with our special guest for today. So, Cryptic One, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. Now, I have a few questions for you. Okay. They're quick. So while we try this, I know it's going to be hard because we're going to be chewing. It's super delicious, but I think we got a good thing going here.
We could do it. As long as my mom's not watching. She
right.
told me not to chew with my mouth full. So
same.
Or speak while I'm chewing.
Yeah. Same. My mom hated that. I low-key hate it, but it's for the plot. Yeah. It's for the plot. So now, everyone out there listening, if you are enjoying the way that we do this segment moving forward, you can always send us your questions that you want to ask our special guests as well. So make sure that you tap in with us, send us a DM, send us an email, or you can even comment on this episode below. So let's get into it. Today's episode, we actually have brown butter, salted caramel, Rice Krispies. Like, Maddie, how are you fitting all of these flavors into these little squares? I don't know, but I trust her. So let's dive in. Let's grab one.
Let's do this.
Let's do it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, so what was the first album you've ever bought?
Wow.
I know.
The first album I ever bought, with my own money, I'll say, was Big Daddy Kane. His first album, Long Live the King.
Wow.
On cassette.
Okay. Now, tell us what you think of this Rice Krispie. Ridiculous.
It was different than I was expecting.
Right?
It's got a softness to it that I really like. Oh my God,
it's the salt in the back of your...
I love the salt. The salt is necessary.
Gosh.
Like,
it's so subtle, but it's so necessary, and it's loud. Vinyl, cassette, or streaming? What is your favorite way to listen to music?
Vinyl. Not even close.
Yeah?
I'm a vinyl head. I started off DJing on vinyl. I have probably close to 10,000 pieces of vinyl.
Over 10,000 vinyls. So how do you keep them organized?
Currently, genre, there's genre and alphabetical within the genre, except for certain things. Like there's certain labels that I really like. They have their own separate section.
Gotcha.
And certain artists get their own separate section.
Yeah.
But,
what is your go-to snack when you're locked in the studio? Other than Rice Krispie treats.
I'm going to go with Swedish fish. I've been a sucker for Swedish fish.
I have not had a Swedish fish in a long time.
I had one last week. By one, I mean 2 bags.
Right. We're talking about your studio now. What is your favorite piece of gear in your studio right now?
The Ableton Push 3. That's kind of the center of everything. I have a lot of gear.
Now, would you say that equipment is good for someone who is just now getting into production, or is that more of an advanced piece of equipment?
It is an advanced piece of equipment, but I mean, I would mainly the biggest factor if you're just starting out, it costs too much money.
Yeah.
Like, don't spend that much money. Start with like Koala on your phone and
Yeah.
see if you really want to do it, and then invest. But like, as far as like skill level, if you can afford it, and go for it.
Go for it, right?
Yeah.
Can you give us a Brooklyn spot that always sparks your creativity?
Ooh. Outside of my home?
Right.
Honestly, maybe this is a little cliche, maybe it's not. Prospect Park, just going to the park with my
Wow,
dog.
I was there yesterday.
Like, I was there today.
Oh my God. I was there with the band shooting content
Okay.
all day yesterday, but honestly, perfect weather.
Yeah, it was
Great
a
day.
good day for the park, yeah.
What is a mistake that you see young artists and producers make that they could easily avoid?
Biting off too much of a Rice Krispie treat.
Right, while trying to answer interview questions. I'm having the same struggle.
I was really ambitious with that bite. On the creative side or the business side? Creative side, I don't see mistakes because everyone has their own path creatively.
Yeah.
And like, you can get into the technical mixing mistakes or whatever, but even that. The biggest mistake I see is marketing themselves. Not marketing themselves or feeling gross about marketing themselves because no one wants to get in front of a camera and talk their stuff up. But I see the rash of like people who their idea for a marketing plan is they drop they spent all this time, energy on this album that they love. They put it on Bandcamp and then they make a post saying link in bio. And
that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you're selling yourself short. And a lot of it's not for they have the intention to promote themselves. They just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pretend I know everything about marketing, but I know a bit. And there are resources out there to find out more and educate yourself and put your best foot forward. And, music is music.
Yeah.
That's the art side of it. And that is, at the end of the day, the most important part. But if you want more people to listen to it, then put some energy into that.
Yeah. Hey everybody, it's your favorite girl on the rocks, of course, and we couldn't have another season of Feed the DJ podcast without shouting out Indulge NYC. They help us to feed our DJs. If you are someone who likes a sweet treat, especially at the end of a gig, look no further. Indulge NYC is a women-owned and operated company right here in Staten Island, and they provide us with cookies, cakes, and all different types of pastries here on the show. So make sure you check them out on Instagram and let them know that Feed the DJ sent you. But Cryptic, you have collaborated with legends, like you said, MF Doom, Aesop Rock, and Lloyd Banks. Shout out to Lloyd Banks. What are some of the challenges you've faced navigating the business side of music while staying true to your artistry?
I have how long is this podcast? The biggest challenge, is staying true to yourself. It's there are choices you have to make, and I don't do this for a living anymore, so that frees me up completely to not do anything that I don't want to do. When I was doing it for a living, they're like, sometimes I'll do some things because it's a check,
Right.
And because I have to pay rent.
I need it, right?
So that It's a tough spot to be,
Yeah.
especially when you care about the art side of it so much. So that's the biggest hurdle, which I don't have anymore because I don't depend on it.
Yeah.
But like, just I have a trouble asking people for help or admitting that I don't know something. Right?
Same.
So the initial problems were like not talking to a lawyer because I don't know, feel like I know what I'm talking about, you know?
Like, I feel you.
Like, talk to a lawyer. Like, get a lawyer involved.
Like,
anytime.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, like, don't play yourself, especially
Yeah.
if it's a record that
Yeah.
you think might actually do something. Like, cover your ass legally. Have someone else do the negotiation. That's a big thing.
We were talking about this off camera. Yeah, getting an agent, very big.
Yeah. Those are two things. Number one, because I'm not good at negotiating. I'm just not. I'm
not either. I'm not. Like, please don't haggle me because you're going to win.
Yeah.
Okay? No. Like, I'm so bad.
And, like, I have no idea what I can get. And, like, I'm not going to name names, but I've worked with artists who, everyone's kind of feeling out what they can get. So, like, what's your budget? And like, well, what do you normally charge? Like, everyone's going back and forth. No one wants to say a number. And then someone says a number that's always starts at a ridiculous place.
Right.
It always.
Naturally.
No matter which side. It's like, that's either too much or it's too little. Like, let's figure it out. And then you go back and forth. But the last few things I had, my lawyer did all of that. So I'm copied on the emails, and he'll throw out a number. I'm like, dude, you're crazy. You're going to make me lose this opportunity. Are you insane?
Yeah.
Don't say that number. And then it winds up working out. And we're like, okay, that makes me realize that I should have had this guy do this.
That's a gem. That is a gem drop. Honestly, for myself and for all of you guys out there listening, like, oh my goodness, I was just telling him that I was having an issue with a deal and I totally did not stand on my shit. And I'm beating myself up about it.
It's tough. The other thing, the flip side of that is, I know everyone, there's the term know your worth, and I try to live by that, but I'll also do shit for free if I think it's cool.
Definitely.
If I think it's cool and it's something that I really want to do and the person's broke, I'm not going to be like, nah, you got to pay me.
Yeah, no. Like, if it's for a cause that you can stand behind, if it's something in your hometown, like certain things you can make exceptions for sure.
So, like, don't get ripped off, but also be open.
Yeah.
To, like, do things that and who knows, maybe the free thing you do winds up getting you
turning
else.
into, that has definitely turned out for me. Actually, if you guys remember the first episode of season 3, we had DJ Mixie Payne, and we met at a double booking.
Oh,
it was pouring.
You guys were both booked?
Yeah, we were both booked. No one was properly communicating with us. It was pouring, raining. It was in Brooklyn. I was so mad. It was a whole thing. But I didn't storm off and turn it into this whole thing. While we were figuring out what they were doing, we were exchanging information, and we were able to get him on a podcast. So turn lemons into lemonade with everything. Facts. If you can. All right. But that is a major gem. As far as how to balance it. It's going to be tough. So if you have the means to reach out to a third party to kind of help with those things, definitely good, because I'm going to do that myself.
Try and stay away from the money side as much as possible.
Yeah. That's when it gets a little complicated, and that's when the fun gets kind of sucked out of everything. Yep. Now, I want to jump in and get some more info on anti-Morbius strip theory.
Okay. That was my first solo album.
Yes.
It was released in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
It was complete in 2001. There was a 3-year gap because business shit got in the way.
Yeah.
I was running a label at the time, and I signed a deal for my label it's called a P&D deal, so it's production and manufacturing and production. So, like, they'll pay for the manufacturing of the vinyl, the CD, the cassettes, and I just have to handle all the promotion, right? So I signed this deal, and it was one of the biggest distributors. My record would have been in all the stores in the U.S. and some overseas. And about 6 months before I started promoting the record, because back in these days it wasn't internet heavy, so your promotion would be in magazines. So they have a 3-month leeway. Anyway, I don't want to get too far into things that don't even exist anymore. But
Which
anyway,
is crazy that it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It's like crazy.
But I paid a publicist
a
lot of money to like promote it. And I started getting great reviews in national magazines and stuff. And then the label that I was signed to, that I signed my label to, they went under before my record was manufactured or put out.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of left like, okay, I'm getting reviews, I'm getting press, I'm getting interviews that are coming out now, but the record's not out.
And there's nothing I can do.
Nothing. Because I spent my money on marketing.
Right.
So I couldn't afford to press it up. So I spent those 3 years trying to find another label. And the label I ended up with, which this is kind of cool. I didn't know at the time, but I knew the head of the label was MF Grimm, who was friends with MF Doom.
Yeah.
And it was the label that put out the Special Herbs, the instrumental MF Doom records. So, it was kind of cool. I got to be label mates with MF Doom for a little bit. And yeah, the record came out through that. 2004, I toured the U.S. It was a brutal tour. Most tours are brutal. Like,
yeah.
Like touring, whenever you say touring, people are like, oh, that sounds wonderful.
Exciting.
Glamorous.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're driving across the U.S. in the car for in a van for 12 hours. And then you do a show and then you're tired. You go to the hotel, you sleep a little bit, you wake up like, okay, now we're driving
on to the next
10 hours in another direction. And it was fun too, but it's not for the weak of heart.
Yeah. Draining, to say the least.
So, I mean, that was for that record. The record did okay, could have done better. A lot of that was due to the timing and, I didn't have the money to promote it properly. But then it found its kind of, cult following afterwards. So it's doing better now than it did when it came out 20 years ago. So it's lucky, I guess.
Absolutely. Isn't it funny? I feel like a lot of things are kind of coming back now, especially with your TikToks and your Instagrams and people just having so much access.
Yep.
You know? So I'm happy that it's making a comeback and you're able to kind of relive that.
Yeah, it's great. It's kind of weird too, though, because it's stuff I made 20 years ago. I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah,
but hey,
So what would you say? And I tend to ask this a lot because I'm very interested. And usually whenever I ask this, I get really great reveals. But from that project to your latest, what are the major changes that you see in your work?
I know more now, which is good and bad. I like a lot of the music where I'm kind of just figuring it out and I don't know what I'm doing and have those happy accidents. Now, if everything's intentional, you don't have happy accidents.
Right.
So I still try and keep that in my newer stuff where I just try stuff. Like, I don't know if this is going to work. Let's try it. And it doesn't work 10 times out of 10. And then maybe 11th time it works a little and you're like, okay. But for me, that's the biggest one. The other biggest thing is just the business is completely different. There's no way I'd have a 3-year gap between finishing.
Right. Now, are you
that's crazy. No.
Yeah.
I could finish it Tuesday and it could be out Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's mind blowing. Different.
Yeah. Whoa, night and day.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm happy that I got to experience it for the second go round. Hey everybody, it's your favorite girl on the rocks, of course, and we are so happy to connect with you, and we're happy that you have stuck around with us all the way through season 3 of Feed the DJ podcast. Now, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, please remember to give us a 5-star review. You can leave us comments, let us know who you want to see on the show, you can send us questions, anything you want, we want to hear from you. So again, leave us a 5-star review and let us know what you're thinking of season 3 so far. Performing live beat sets is a big part of what you do now.
Yeah.
So how do you approach your performances, especially when you're connecting with a crowd purely through beats? What is the vibe you aim to create during a set?
That's a very good question.
I guess it depends on where you're at, who's in the room.
It does.
Right?
I'm one of the people who I plan my set like pretty much every second of it. It's like I'm a sit at home and rehearse, and like I know when the transitions are coming. I know people who they just load up a bunch of beats and they're like, all right, I'll figure it out when I get there.
Yeah.
So my beat sets are very different than how I DJ'd. Like I don't do beat sets for, it sounds really arrogant, but I don't do this for the crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. I want them to enjoy it, but yeah, I'm not spontaneous and like, okay, I think this crowd needs to hear drum and bass right now. Let me switch it up. So like, it's all pre-planned. So the way I approach it is kind of how we talked earlier. I think of it like a movie and try and tell a story. Like I usually start off pretty slow and then ramp up the tempo and then kind of slow down again and then kind of ramp up at the end. That's the small of it. But I always came from from touring. Rehearsal is a huge part of that because you do the same show for 50 days out of 60. So I try and approach the beat sets the same way. I rehearse until it's
perfect. Like
breathing. I wouldn't say perfect. There's no perfect in my world, but you know, I rehearse until I know it, and then I usually I'm never satisfied with it, so you'll never see the exact same set twice.
Right.
Songs may get pulled out or moved or changed, so it's forever changing, but I always rehearse for too long because my girlfriend will hear the same songs for like
she's like, I never
3 weeks. Can you play something else? Yeah.
Now, you mentioned before that being an artist comes with its own set of challenges, right? But what's been one of your biggest personal hurdles, and how have you been able to push through it?
We just talked about one. Perfectionism is a huge one, where it's hard to let things go if you think there's a mistake, and we're human, so there's always a mistake. Hopefully, like I don't like things that are. The weird thing is when I listen to other people, I don't like hearing things that are perfect. I don't like things to be perfectly on beat. I don't like everything mixed perfectly. I like mistakes, but when it comes to my own thing, it's hard for me to let it go. Yeah. So sometimes I'll hold on to things a little too long, which kind of leads to imposter syndrome, where you kind of feel like, yeah, I did this, I accomplished this, I got this person this beat, but maybe it was just a fluke. I don't know if I deserve that.
Yeah.
Like, I listen to it and like all I hear is like what I did wrong.
That's how I feel about mixes. Like I need to get more mixes out. I actually want to record one later today. It gives me, but I have that same feeling because I'm just like,
there's that one thing.
And I don't know.
But no one notices but you. That's
every time.
Every time.
I'm like people be like, oh, your set was so good. And I'm like, you like that? Like, you did? Okay.
Like, then you go home, you're like, they're just being nice,
right?
They're just my people. They ain't gonna tell me that I have spinach in my teeth either.
Right? So, y'all wasn't gonna tell me my knuckles was ashy when I was DJing this whole time? Damn. Now, you're currently, or rather constantly, working on something new, right? So can you tell us about your current projects, what you're excited about for 2025, what we can look forward to in the future?
The thing I'm most excited about now is a group that I formed with my girlfriend. She's a singer-songwriter, and we just talked about perfectionism. That is her middle name, so she hasn't really released anything. Yeah. And we've been together for a while. She lives in a home with a studio. Yeah. And a producer. And she's a singer. Like, come on. But like in the last year, we've actually recorded a bunch. We've done a couple of shows. We have another show coming up. Yeah. And it's fun for me. Like, it's the first time in a while that performing has been really fun for me, just because it's different. Number one, I'm not the center of attention. Right. Like, I'm just in the background playing the beats, and we have a bass player, and we're going to integrate a DJ into it. Nice. And the group's called Couples Therapy, which everyone hears it the first time, they think like, oh, that's like some
Yeah.
romantic shit. Like, no, it's not that at all. Like, we have a theory, not a theory, but an explanation of the group name is that basically everyone's in relationships, right? So whether it be like a relationship with your family, your mom, your dad, or your sister, or your dog, or your boss, or your friends, and all of those relationships are damaged in some way, shape, or form. We look at our music as like the couch and the lyrics are the therapist to like help you heal or move towards healing those damaged relationships. That's how we explain it. I explain it way better on stage, but you know,
under pressure.
Yeah, with the lights on. But it's been fun. It's been different. I think it's a unique sound, and yeah, that's the most exciting thing I'm working on now. But I am working on other things. I have a new rap album that's 90% done.
Nice.
Hoping to get it out this year, but we'll see. And I have a whole bunch of other projects in the works that I shouldn't talk about.
Okay, no leaks.
No, not because they're big or anything, because like the projects in my mind
right
are done in my mind, but like I maybe have half of one song like in reality. So,
yeah.
Like, maybe it comes out in like 10 years from now, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but I'm constantly working on too many things always.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
Same. We're here with that.
Yeah.
Now, your girlfriend is a singer-songwriter and you're the producer. Like, are you guys just making songs every day, all day long in a house? Like, you walk past each other like, oh, you know what?
No.
I'm going to record that.
I wish it was that way, but it's not that way. It's kind of more like the first song that we did together, I kind of forced. I was like, come on, let's just go into the studio. I have a beat I just made. She's like, well, what's the song about? And I was like, I don't know.
Just
and
whatever you want.
I was like, we'll do a song together. And I opened up my notes app and put the title as I don't know. And then I started writing because we were going to do a song together. I'm rapping, she's singing. So the first line of the song is I don't know what I know. And I just wrote from there, and I just put something together. It was really quick, like 30 minutes. And usually I take my time, whatever. And I recorded my verse, and she was like writing in the background. And she's like, I don't know if I like it. I don't care if you like it. Like, let's do it. Just record it. No one has to hear it.
Let's just feed off of each other's brains for a few.
So we recorded it, and we recorded a demo version of it. And it's still our favorite song that we've done since. So that kind of started the process. And it was kind of, as a producer, working with an artist is different. You have to figure out how to pull things out of them.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've lived with her for 6 years and I still haven't figured it out. And, you know, it's a delicate dance because, you know, this is your relationship. So, like, I can't be like, do this. Like, you know, so it took a lot of time for me to figure out how for us to work together. But now we're at a good space. We have about 8 songs now.
Wow.
And performing that's been fun. So,
well, I would love to come out to some of your performances. Definitely let me know. Now, please let the audience know where they can find you on social media and hear more of your music. And of course, we'll put it in the description, but just let them know.
Instagram is where I'm most active. Oh, and Threads, because I don't do Twitter anymore. But it's CRYP _Uno. Just for the record, it's not Crip as in gangs, because it's short for cryptic.
Right. Any relation to crypto?
No, but I have some Bitcoin investments that are not doing very well right now. So we won't talk about.
Yeah. Skip.
But that's the social where you could find me, Crip _Uno, or cryptic1.net is where all my merch is. And by merch, there's shirts and stuff, but like, that's where you buy the vinyl, the CD set. And my site is not fully fleshed out. It's just a store. Yeah. So the site's coming, but I need a place where people can, because I've done so much, I just need a place where people can go.
Just go, like,
here's everything that I've done. But that's the main places to grab me.
Awesome. Well, you guys make sure you run, don't walk to that link in the description so that you can listen and check out more of Cryptic One's work. We are actually going to get into a live beat set right now. So if you stuck around to the end of this episode, we appreciate it. It is another episode of Feed the DJ podcast, and I really learned so much about our special guest and what it took to be in this industry for 30 years. It's not easy, and so to kind of talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between was really refreshing. So make sure you share this episode with a friend, someone who's looking to get their hands inside of the producer industry. This was definitely a very heavy episode, and there's lots of notes that you could take from this episode. So check us out. We're halfway through season 3. We had Cryptic One on the show today, and who knows who we'll see next on the show. So make sure you send us all of your feedback so that we can bring the show to life for you. It's your favorite girl on the rocks, of course. I don't bite. I just DJ. Let's get into this live set.
To look at, parts that we run from because we are just too scared to look at them. But we can't not look, and we can't not say it. And if we can't say it with words, then we're artists, right? We find another way. And there is always another way. We're artists, right? Right?
narrative that police put forward where they suggest, oh, I felt helpless. Oh, I was afraid for my life. They were lying. The police have been able to go on and lie on these people who are citizens to say their story is the right story. Now, in this complicated digital world, there are multiple sources of video that prove that the truth is a lot more complicated than the police make it out to be, and perhaps it would hold them accountable in a way that they might not otherwise be. Look, I'm a black man in America. I have been accosted by the police. I have been mistreated by the police. I have been called the N-word by the police. I have been beat down by the police. I have abided by the law all my life. And yet my interactions with the police have been fraught with terror. And I think what we're discounting here is the degree to which the police are the manifestation of terror against black life that has been rendered vulnerable and disposable in America. But what we have to do is look at the broader backdrop. There has been a look of disgust, of disdain, of a kind of negative reaction from so many police toward African American and Latino people that we can't in one sense exempt them from a broader culture of disregard for these people. Bye.